Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my talk show. I'm your host, That One Rebel here, or better known as just Rebel, and this is my talk show, Late Night Rebel. And we have a special guest coming out who's going to be Walter H. He's a really incredible up-and-coming streamer. He's a really awesome person. And without further ado, coming from behind the curtains is the one and only Walter. Welcome.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Now,
So, welcome to the show, man.
Yes, one skill I don't have is sitting down, so I'll be standing up this whole time.
Oh my.
I'm hypomanic, so.
All right, sure. I mean, yeah. You could click on the chair. That works. If you want to stand, there you have to go behind you, and then there's a settings, and then you click the chair icon. Because if technically speaking, if you're gonna stand, your head's gonna get cut off in the camera angle.
That's fair. Yes. Okay, then I will sit down.
Yeah.
Then I will sit down. I'll make an exception.
Yeah. Walter doesn't have the sit skill.
No, I don't.
Yeah, what's sitting, dude? What's sitting?
Yeah, I will normally I'll normally stay standing because I'm hypomanic. So
Okay.
a lot of people are bipolar 1 or bipolar 2. I'm an offshoot of bipolar 2. Bipolar 1 is where you oscillate between the manic phase
Yeah.
and the depressive phase.
Uh-huh.
And it goes back and forth. Bipolar 2 is where it goes either manic, bipolar manic, or you're bipolar depressive. I'm a type of bipolar manic from brain damage, so
Really?
you can get mental illnesses. Yes, you can get mental illnesses from brain damage. I have damage to my right frontal lobe, 2 little dots that are a lesion on the right frontal lobe. So effectively a cut that is healed, and my brain does not process serotonin properly, so I always have highly elevated levels, and it puts me in the near manic state known as hypomania. So
what happens
when I'm streaming, I'll stream for like 12 hours.
What happens if you just smoke a doobie?
I would become relatively calm. These things do calm me down. They don't like super amp me up. Most things I'm not good at handling. I can't hold my alcohol at all.
Damn.
You know, I've stopped drinking effectively because every time I went to a party and I would drink, I'd just pass out.
Okay.
So it's like, what's the point? You know? Yeah,
So what's the best way to describe yourself? Like, obviously you're in like university, you're studying stuff. Like, you introduce yourself. You know.
Right. So I'm 29, so I'm not in university anymore. But I'm Walter. I'm a researcher in social VR. Yeah. So behavioral biologist, specifically an ethologist. Ethology being the study of evolutionary psychology, sexual psychology, and developmental psychology as they relate to physiology and anatomy. And then I came into here about 3.5 years ago. Have conducted a 1,400 data point study, which was 7 sets of 200 data points on topics of association and dissociation. So those are the feelings of being in VR and how you relate to being in VR.
Yeah.
And those are feelings of being in VR once you leave VR. Those of you who have the headset, you probably experience one of these. You leave the headset, and this usually happens in the first like couple of weeks.
Yes.
And something feels up with your hands. Something feels up with the room, like it's lagging, like real life lagging, or you interact with like a 2D screen, and suddenly it like pops out. The text seems like to pop out to you, or you wake up from a dream and suddenly your hands, you're like, what the fuck, is this real life?
Yeah.
Or you you'll have, right, yeah, or you'll see the room and it seems like it has like overlay of VR in it. You expect your menu. You reach out for objects from a distance, trying to pick them up. I had a girl once tell me that she tried to pick up a slice of pizza for almost 20 seconds because she kept readjusting her hand to get the blue line and was fucking confused because where the fuck is the blue line? that kind of thing where it comes on you, and even though you're a totally rational human being, it's not like that. It's a neurological process. Also been studying psychosomatic response. So that's the feeling of touch you hear people talk about in
Phantom
VR.
sense.
Phantom touch?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. But it's more than that. It's also a feeling of hot, cold, weight, resistance, even scent and taste play into it as well. Because any part of the cortex can activate during a psychosomatic experience. Psychosomatics are a cortexual and limbic response. So your cortex deals with a lot of things, but it deals with your senses. And your limbic system, to shorten it down, deals with emotion.
Okay.
So what happens is that in psychosomatics, there's what's called allocentric psychosomatics and egocentric psychosomatics. So allocentric is the easiest example to explain to any given person to make them believe you that phantom sense is real. Because a lot of people, when they hear that, they're like, oh, that's just something people in VR make up. You know what I mean? That's just like an exaggerated thing. You watch a person get kicked in the balls, or you see a person get like a paper cut, or they tell you about a paper cut, or like you see someone like break their arm, and you're like, oh shit! You feel that pain, right?
100%.
The response. That is a psychosomatic experience, and you can remember the pain, right? You can remember how that felt uncomfortable and everything. So it's a real experience that you're having psychosomatically. That is empathy for another person, but you can also have the same sort of experience with yourself. The reason why psychosomatics evolved, actually, is because of insects getting on you. So insects were crawling you, and if you were an animal with limbs, it was worth it for you to brush them off. So to give a great example of egocentric psychosomatics, you watch a video of ants, and you feel like ants are crawling on you. Like, you watch a video of like bugs crawling around on the ground. I don't know if you've ever done that, but you like lift your legs up. You're like, oh, I don't like this. You're freaked out, and you can like feel them in your hairs, or like sometimes you felt like there's been an insect on you and you brushed at it, right?
Yeah.
There wasn't one. Yeah. That's why it evolved, because it's worth it for an animal with limbs calorically to brush off a lethal spider, or to make 20 false attempts to then get one right. It's worth it, because that one time you get it right is going to make such a huge difference for you as an animal that that the costs for animals who did not engage in such behavior was huge, because you're living in trees, you're living on the ground. It's not like we were in like really clean houses with like clothes on and like regulating that no insects crawl on us basically at all times. And it was a much more open environment. So animals for hundreds of millions of years have benefited from these sorts of things. That's why you see that psychosomatics falling on an activation likelihood that's based on what it would dictate within a survival setting. So the most common actually is balance is the most common form of psychosomatics. So feelings of balance, going on like a ride that shoots you way up into the air in VR here, and jumping up and down, and feeling like you're heavier as it's going up, and then lighter as it's going down when you're jumping in real life on it. These sorts of things are balance-based reactions, but are by far the most common. That's because humans evolved our bipedal nature, most likely evolved in an arboreal setting, meaning one in which we were in trees. So balance mattered a ton. Feeling like you were losing your balance, it was always worth it to try to catch your balance, right? So it's the most active because it's the most useful for us. And then even when we went down to the ground, as a biped, you have a further distance to fall and more things you can mess up. So the need for psychosomatically active balance-based senses became much more important. But if you were, let's say, a rat, where 50% of your brain is the olfactory bulb, then your psychosomatic world would be fully intertwined with your sense of smell, because there isn't an emotion in the world that a rat feels that isn't intertwined with that emotion, or with that center of the brain.
So
humans differentiate.
I got a question. So let's bring it back to VR chat. So what got you into researching VR chat? I know, for example, you are researching VR chat socials and stuff like that. So tell me about like how it started with VR chat to leading up till now. For example, there's many people, a lot of people always ask me in my chat, they're like, why are you a guy and you play a female model? Like, for example.
Right. Classic question. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is that your question? Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying that's a classic question. I thought you had more to say. So why I play a female model? For me, it's because the avatar is just like a million times better. I mean, there's
true
put into them. Also, I am pansexual, but I present very gay / off gender. So this is only to my benefit, as like how I prefer to present anyways. So my pronouns are he, him. It would be hilariously dysphoric to name myself Walter if I was male, female, trans, but I do way more associate with these female avatars. I don't know if you ever felt like gone into male avatars, but they feel often very like predatory in that like they're built by a guy specifically because it's designed to like pick up women, whereas like most of these are designed because a guy thinks this is really hot. Like, and there's a lot more like craft put into it and a lot less like predatory craft put into it. There's a craft of love and lust put into these avatars, whereas the other avatars, it's more like a desire to invoke lust in others and to be lusty yourself. When you encounter most male models, I think that's a lot of the intent behind why they were made.
So what you're saying is, you just basically five-hit explain why people are wolf boy fuck boys.
Yes, queen.
Okay.
I will answer. So why I came in here was actually because I saw a video of cute wolf girls interacting, and I was like, holy shit. This was back in June of 2017. I was like, holy shit, that's no longer proof of concept, or rather that's proof of concept right there. I had no idea that VR existed in a modern format, in the sense that I had the developer kit 1 the first month it came out because I bought it off eBay, and then I bought the consumer version 1 of the Oculus the first month too off eBay again because I wanted it just like right away. So I was well aware that VR was real and awesome, but I didn't have the hands yet or anything, and I never played a game that didn't just use this little pad that you were given. You were given this tiny little thing you would hold in your hand, and it would allow you to like move around and teleport in some games. Like that was the extent of the VR experience, and I decided, okay, I'm gonna come into this. Like I literally have the headset right there. I want to see what this is like. This is a free game too. I'm like, holy shit! So I go in, and I am not even kidding you that within 10 minutes, I took off the headset and went over to buy the hands because I felt immediately so impotent as people came up to me with their hands and were asking me like, why the fuck I only had a headset. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so fucking stupid. I never realized that the hands were going to be like something that would actually matter. I thought they were just a gimmick that they were trying to get me to pay like an extra like $150 for. I didn't realize this is very much vital to the experience. Yes. I came into VR and within a few days I had encountered my first dissociative effect that came in the form of myself feeling like the whole world was lagging intensely while I was driving, and I had to pull over my car, and I was like, holy shit, like what kind of fucking neurological impact is this having on me? Like, what's the
You're in the
anatomical
Matrix.
impact of VR? Right. If it's doing things like this, and I went around and started asking other people if they'd had similar experiences. And it wasn't like just one person said it. I didn't find anyone who didn't have these experiences. Like, they were built in. So I knew there were questions to be answered, and I'm an ethologist. So ethology, we're like the people who fill out Wikipedia pages.
Oh yeah.
Yes, on animals. We go in and we'll map the whole life cycle of an animal, and it'll take like 5-10 years or whatever. But it is a very, very first come first serve basis, with easily 99.9% of all species that exist. The real exceptions are things like chimpanzees, dolphins, or neuroethology comes into play. For instance, I studied corvids in university, but I started gaining an interest in utilizing my ethology degree in here because, as I said, ethology is first come, first serve. If you go in and study an animal for 10 years, there's probably no additional content to be milked from that animal, right? Like, no one else can come in and then... Yeah, exactly. The animal is effectively just been fully studied. You have all the questions answered. If it has an interesting, complex language, then other people come in and study. Cognitive and neuroethologists will come in and study the language of the species. But normally with humans, I mean, I'd have to have like a deep doctorate in order to, like, I'd have to have a PhD, but then also probably be studying a little bit beyond that in order to become like near the top of my field, like the tip of the spear in the
top
field.
Top of the pyramid. You have to be five. You have to be a six head at that point.
Yes, exactly. Oh my God, incredibly so. And I might be a 5-head, but I'm definitely not a 6-head because I've met so many 6-head people that I know my limits. And here, I was the first one here by a significant margin, because I will tell you that I'm still the only researcher here in social VR. After 3.5 years, I have only met AP students who I've done like mentorships for, who have come in here and done like projects on social VR. No one on the university level have I seen come in here and use this in the way that I've been. I came in here. This was a whole new field of human ethology that had never been touched. Nobody was in here. Nobody was working on this. So I started going around and asking people, much like you do here, if I could do an interview with them. And I would ask them questions of dissociation and association. I go through and run psychosomatic testing with people. For instance, I did one to see what would be the media sort of influence on the way people interact with psychosomatic experiences. So what I mean by that is that I had 100 people who had fired a bow before, fire a bow in VR, and I'd have them like draw back and hold the shot for 5 seconds for each shot, and then fire. So 5 seconds, fire. 5 seconds, fire. Made them shoot like 30 shots, and I asked them a series of like 8 questions, but only one question really mattered, and that was the question of how tired are you on a scale from 1 to 10 after performing that task. Those who fired about 100 people, 97 of them rated a number that was higher than 97% of people who had never fired a bow, because people who never fired a bow were just using Legolas and Katniss logic, where they have like, where you fire like unlimited shots and it never makes you tired, and so they all rated like ones, like zeros. People were confused about why I asked that question, that kind of thing. So
You're tricking
the
them.
association,
The 5-head
right?
move.
The association with the experience is what caused it, rather than just seeing somebody else perform the action is not enough. You must perform it yourself in order for your body to remember it enough for you to have the psychosomatic response of weight and resistance. So weight and resistance from this sort of thing. A really great example is for those of you who had the or have rather the Oculus or have had it. You might have tried the little demo where like Wally comes up to you and it's like a floating bird. Yeah, right.
I did.
And do you remember right? Do you remember the rockets that you can pull like little strings on?
Yeah.
Did you remember feeling like the tension as you like mess with the little like string, like feeling like the
possibly?
The
that was like 3 years ago, so I don't remember.
That's fair.
I don't remember every little detail.
If you have an Oculus, yeah, you can test these things out. So I would hold that. Actually, that little test demo is great for psychosomatics because it also has those butterflies that come out. Now, did you feel the butterflies when they landed on your hand?
Not really. For me,
Really?
I don't think I really have a strong like phantom sense. I feel like if I was to train myself and really was like, because for example, I have like ASMR does affect me. Like when I listen to very specific sounds or rain or whatever, I do feel like it's always on my scalp or in the back of my neck. I always feel that if people have a brush or something like that, I can feel that in VR chat or years ago in just YouTube videos. I feel that. But when it comes to like someone trying to like touch me or like do this on my hand or something, I don't really feel it. The one time I kind of did, but it was like super weak. It was like on a scale of 1 to 10, it was like a 1. Like I felt like the slightest of like pressure or like a hot sensation. It was like super weak. It was like if I really focused, it could go to like maybe a 1 or 2, but that was it. Like I had to be like really in the zone for it.
Right. That's probably, and I would say that's overwhelmingly likely that is because you have a strong inner narrative that you don't associate into VR as much as other people who get psychosomatically active experiences. So what I mean by a strong inner narrative is that you are somebody who does interviews, so you're constantly thinking about things external to the actual environment itself. You know, you're thinking about things that are outside of this setting. So in these experiences, what you're going to have happen is because you are constantly focused on the outside world or focused on your inside world, you'll miss the the cues that are normally sent in here. You're too focused on
the outside world,
this internal portion.
Yeah.
Right.
I get what you're saying. I'm not immersed enough. That's basically the layman terms. I'm not immersed. I'm just like, hey, what's up, guys? I'm interviewing Walter here. What's going on? Hey, what's up, Che? Like I'm focused on other things. If I was purely in the zone, then
correct. If you were just then you would feel it much more. Like maybe if you got very intoxicated, you would feel it a lot more. And another big thing is that, like I said, psychosomatics is an allocentric and an egocentric response. And what that means is that, like, let's say you get a crush on someone, and then you fall more and more for them, and then you both fall in love. You're going to feel an increasing intensity of psychosomatic experience through that, because the allocentric nature of it means that the more you empathize with them, the more you'll feel, and then the more you empathize with yourself, the more you'll feel. So these sorts of things work in tandem together. You end up with an allocentric and egocentric response for when somebody is like kissing you. It's both. It's a response for yourself and a response to how much you care about them. So you might find that
makes sense.
Falling in love might be the thing that trains you into having more psychosomatics.
There's many people I've met that obviously in VR chat that do like the cuddling or the head pats and stuff like that. And there's never really a random person. It's usually someone they've known for a long time. And And when a very specific person like touches their face or their hair, they feel a lot stronger than if I went up to them and was like, hey, whatever,
Right.
you know. I get that. Makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yes. And so you might see that as being a big thing for yourself in the future, as you like develop like romantic connections or whatever in here. Yes. I don't know about your marital status.
Oh, I'm single, but I got 50 waifus. You know, you got to live on the edge. You know, YOLO. You know what
There
I'm
you
saying?
go. Yes, queen.
Yeah, hey, let's
that's
go.
VR chat. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
VR
yeah.
chat for you. Yes,
Exactly.
queen.
I'm gonna marry 1,000 waifus. I'm gonna be in the news. New York Times.
I ended up getting slightly sidetracked, but I've also studied how both long-term and short-term memory form in VR, and the cortices utilized in that. So what I mean by that is the senses used in that differentiate from a standard memory. So how a lack of real touch here, and how the lack of scent and the lack of like air pressure, how these things matter when it comes to how you'll interact with the environment, how you'll remember the environment. So it's so much easier to, like, let's say you smell something, you know, it might smell like your grandma's house and pull you all the way back, and you remember the entire structure of her house, and like also a bunch of experiences you had there and that sort of thing. And here, you know, I'm not gonna smell this and be like, oh, it smells like the coffee that I used to drink when I was 16, or you know, it doesn't have that effect. And I won't smell this in here, and then later smell coffee in real life like a year down. I'm like, holy shit, that's the coffee from Rebel's interview. You know, right? There's right. The way you form memories is different in here, and that matters a lot because the main thing that I studied was actually morality, or rather, morality is a fixed action pattern. So it's how you interact with other humans and another animal of your species, and it is something that is built into you like a smile is. So even a blind child will smile, who's never seen a smile in their life. But a human will also have a built-in set of interactions with all sorts of stimuli. And when you don't have one that's as hardwired as something like a smile, you have adaptive action patterns that you learn over time, but are built into you already. For instance, if you offer a squirrel that has been fed, you know, you literally have just fed it like applesauce and all kinds of, and like oatmeal and stuff. Its whole life. Just out of a spoon, you give it a nut, and it will engage in the exact same behavioral pattern that a squirrel given a nut outside that has had thousands of experience with nuts engages in. It has a fixed action pattern that it learns once a certain object or stimuli is introduced to it. That's the same with people when it comes to interacting with other people. You quickly learn a fixed action pattern, and it becomes fixed after it starts out as adaptive. It goes from adaptive into a fixed state. I was studying that, and then studying how an ethical framework functions here in VR. So how people treat each other here in VR, and how that extends over to association, psychosomatics, and memory to then form the reason why people treat each other the way they do. I want to ask you an interesting question.
All right, lay it on me.
Probably, hopefully this has the answer that's been reflected overwhelmingly within my data. I'm hoping for this, however, might get a nightmare answer for you on this. So we'll see about it. So how many people have come up to you, and while you were in the headset and they were in the headset, they tried to hurt your feelings? They weren't someone who knew you, okay? They weren't somebody who knew you. They weren't an enemy, you know. They weren't somebody who like hates streamers and therefore has like a grudge against you. Nothing like that. Okay, so just a complete random, no idea who you are.
Yeah.
It comes up to you, and while you're both in the headset, they treat you with cruelty to specifically try to hurt your feelings and make you feel bad. How often has that happened to you? Where a complete stranger just came up in a random world or a friends plus or whatever, and just openly was just straight up cruel towards you?
I would say once in a while. It's not very common, but it does happen. Usually in Publix or Friends Plus, and that doesn't really happen in private lobbies or people I know with. But yeah, to a random stranger, it's had happened. Yeah, absolutely. It just happens once in a while. I can't tell you like is it once a month or something, but it just happens once in a while. I know what to deal with. I just go like "fuck you, idiot," and just block them, you know. But yeah, it does happen.
Yeah. Now let me ask you: are the odds of countering a person like that 1 in 100 or less? Would you say from your experience, like you meet 100 good people for every one person who comes up to you and is
That's
directly
so nice of you. I'm a giver too.
Denon's gifted a tier 1 sub to underscore. They have given 30 gift subs in the channel.
To answer that question, how often? 1 of 100 or less than that? Tough for me to answer. I maybe out of one of 100. It really depends. If I'm going to the Void Club, there's a lot of assholes and shitheads there. So, I mean, if you actively look out for it, it's gonna happen more often. But yeah, I guess like out of 1 out of 100, sure.
Yeah. So now, what do you think your odds of going 100 encounters in League of Legends without having someone be toxic towards you or someone else around you for no reason, effectively?
I think it happens way more often. I don't know how often. I don't play League, but I definitely know it's a toxic game. Just instead of League, put like Call of Duty or something. It'll probably make a little more sense.
Call of Duty.
Yeah,
exactly. Whatever game you play that's like depersonalized and just people are willing to just be incredibly rude towards each other.
I was saying COD, probably when I was, because I don't play COD anymore, but when I did as a kid, it happened almost every lobby. I would say almost every like 2 lobbies or 3 lobbies. Someone's like, "Fuck you," whatever. I'm just like, dude. But I was like so desensitized to that stuff. I was just like, whatever.
Yes. One benefit of having grown up here on the internet, yes, that's for sure.
Yes. Absolutely.
I think the way people treat each other in here has a lot to do with the way memory functions in here. So, we're in this room, with this all around us. I mean, it's like a real studio, right? And you got the ceiling above, you got the floor below. Here's my body, there are my legs, here are my arms, looking out of my eyes, first-person perspective. 3-dimensional worldview, right? With real life quality 3D depth to it. Just like every memory you form in real life. So I think when you're hip tracking.
Yeah.
So I think when you come into this environment, you start utilizing your real life sense of morality based on association with the environment. I think that it is impossible for me to look at you and not see you as being a human being who is autonomously interacting with me. You're not an NPC that like interview NPC and I'm sitting here and we're both in World of Warcraft sitting in chairs and you're doing like the point gesture over and over again. Point.
Fuck you.
Point.
Yeah.
You're a real person, and my brain would literally have to be dumb as fuck to not understand that you are a person. So when I'm in here and I'm interacting with you, you're a 3-dimensional person for me. So I start utilizing my real life sense of morality, something that's very hard to break. Obviously, there are people who break the mold who are sociopaths or who...
sociopaths. Those wolf-way boys.
Yes, or who associate so little with the environment that they effectively can just bypass the morality filter. But for most of us, there's a morality filter. Without even thinking about it, you never even have to think about it. That let's say let's say you're my grandma, and we're here at the kitchen. You made me delicious cookies and milk, and I'm drinking my milk, and I'm loving the cookies, and they just taste so delicious. And now suddenly it just feels morally right. I search inside myself, and it feels morally right now to jump across the table and just beat you up, just beat the shit out of my grandma. It never will feel morally okay for that. Search your heart 1 trillion times, and there's not going to be a time where it's like, oh yes, this feels okay. It's built into you on a level where it is so intrinsic that you don't even have to think about these things. You just know them. These are just pieces of your life. It is wrong to beat up your grandma after she gave you delicious cookies and was kind to you. These are patterns that are built in and are intrinsic, so they don't need to be followed on a logical level. They just are there. For instance, you couldn't then like sit there at the table and be like, well, I'm going to figure out an analytical reason to beat the shit out of her since it feels morally wrong, so I can change my moral mind, right? Okay, the milk was actually a little bit sour, and these cookies were 5% worse, and it's like that was enough analytics to change my mind. It's now morally okay. Morality doesn't work like that. Morality is its own thing.
Unless you're a sociopath. Only a sociopath would think like that.
Right, sociopaths, exactly. Break the mold on this. But thankfully, for us here in VR chat, sociopaths naturally have an antisocial
tendency, so they wouldn't be likely playing VR chat because they're antisocial. It wouldn't make sense for them to be in VR chat.
Right, and also people who are sociopathic are often very confused themselves. They're not the like masterminding. I've only met maybe 1 or 2 people in here who are like the masterminding sociopath kind of person, and both times they like lacked simple understandings of one thing that's really important to understand is that empathy is something that sociopaths lack. But empathy isn't like a weakness or something, and like lacking it therefore makes you stronger. Empathy is just the most useful learning skill there is. Empathy will help you in a million ways. It helps you understand every interaction you're having between others. It helps you understand every little fragment of context, the little shifting cues between people. Empathy is at the core of emotional understanding. Why is another person doing this other thing? What is the subtext of what they're saying? What's the emotional subtext? Each time they would like not understand things like why would you help this person for this reason? Like they don't understand that it's because I'm friends with that person. That doesn't make sense to them, and it's a concept they're still struggling with at the age of 25. The concept of why people do things with their friends the way they do, and that is a concept you understood at the age of 3. Yeah. These are concepts we intrinsically understand, and they are struggling with their entire life. Being a sociopath is a crippling disability. It is not something that makes you like a mastermind. So I think when a lot of people think of sociopath, they think of like people are out there like doing evil. It's usually just people who are fucking super confused about everything that's happening, and are like sort of adrift.
They don't know what to do. They're like, why would I help you? When does that benefit me? Well, I don't get it.
Right. Exactly.
Why would I spend my time on that? Yeah.
Right, because so many of us are engaged in selfless pursuits or pursuits of like bonding with friends and all these sorts of things. It leaves somebody who is a sociopath very on the outs. It's not like a deplorable mental illness. Only it's the actions of those who sometimes are sociopaths that like really frame the other 99% who are like really just fucking super confused individuals who it's like sad that they have this mental illness. Like it's a sad thing.
Yeah.
So it's not. So I tend to have a lot more empathy towards people because of kind of what I've been working on after I completed my study. which was that I got adopted by a research team, led by a neuroscientist. It's myself, a neuroscientist, and 2 therapists who specialize in helping people with gender identity-related issues. We're working on trying to integrate this as an option for online therapy to get the medical community to recognize on a colloquial level, so like on a word of mouth level. We were doing medtech conferences. Now we're just doing word of mouth. So we were doing medtech conferences. We got to attend one in Mumbai.
That's awesome.
More coronavirus. And then it just canceled. It canceled everything for the year. So all of our other plans were taken off the table, and so now we've been working just solely on like an email basis, right? So word of mouth, quote unquote, modern word of mouth, right? My partners do most of that because they're all 3 of them work in the medical community. So my research lead is utilizing pieces of my research for their doctorate. I gave away another chunk of my research to another friend to assist them with their doctorate, which is on the way people share information. Experts share information within settings, we've been working on trying to integrate this as an option for online therapy for people with social anxiety, low social skills, things like autism, and depression, but specifically depression caused by gender dysphoria. That's the main thing we're working on. So half our team is dedicated to gender dysphoria specifically, but we also think that has the biggest benefit directly on human life. So it'll have the biggest impact because the suicide rates outside of VR are massively spiked compared to in VR, because in VR you can put on this body, body of a woman.
Yes.
Look at myself in the mirror, feel acceptance, right? For myself, and be able to use this as a stabilizing factor, a transitionary phase within transition, while you work on things like hormone replacement therapy, while you work on your voice, while you work on talking to the people in real life about this, while you work on, like opening up to your family in that regard, and then you have a network of people to fall back on who can guide you through this kind of thing, because it is literally impossible to be in a room with 30 people and not one of them is trans. The trans population is nearly 1 in 10, but I would say a minimum of 1 in 15. But I think that 10% of the population is more accurate, given my experiences. I don't know about your own experiences, but
I would agree. I would say it depends on the types of people that you hang around with. Like, so for example,
definitely.
When people who are Twitch streamers that don't play VR chat or know anything about this game, they play it for the first time, they think everything's weird. Like, why does that person not talk? Why is that person using a female model? Why are they doing that thing? Why are they head patting each other? I don't get it. So there's definitely people out there that obviously, when they look at VR chat and they're looking inside the box, they're like, I don't get any of this stuff. I think it's weird and think it's bizarre, but I guess it's okay, I guess. I don't know. But when you spend enough time in VR chat, it becomes the social norm of being like, oh yeah, that's a normal thing. Okay, yeah, that's a thing. Like, so my question to you is, do you ever like research specific people? Do you ever ask people like do you ever be like, hey, I'm taking a survey about VR chat, and do you ask them like specific questions about like gender dysphoria and all that stuff, or?
Yes. So I will ask those questions, but usually that is post recording. So if somebody opens up about gender dysphoria, what I'll usually do is, so I ask a person, can I record this? And I record this over a video, and then I go back through the video and I record all the data that was collected within the video. So I have like a series of like 40 questions that I ask over the period of like an hour and a half. So I watch it at like 3.5 times speed, you know?
Damn, that's super fast. Sonic speed. Writing notes.
Yeah, go through, because the things that matter are, it's always like something where effectively, you know, you're getting a easy number, you just mark it down on a chart, you know, over and over and over again. Just go through, and then at the end of each week, I would go through and spend like half a day recording all the data. While it's already been recorded, quote unquote, it hasn't been recorded to a sufficient degree where it's actually like meaningful data, right? But you know, 1,400 videos.
Holy crap.
It wasn't 14. No, don't worry, it wasn't 1,400. It was actually a little bit under 800, because later into VR chat, it used to be that I could only find one person at a time who had VR, and so I would bait one individual at a time, and I would just work for like many hours a day, much like how I'm streaming for like 12, 17 hours a day, doing like educational streaming. That's exactly what I was just doing back then. And I would come in, and then I would perform research for basically the entire day, have people, a lot of people would start following me around, that kind of thing, to watch me and see what other people's reactions to being part of a scientific study was. I later, after the Knuckles revolution, which was the best thing that ever happened to VR chat, by the way, by far. So pre-Knuckles, our average population was 80 people online at any given time was the average. Okay, 80 people online. Post Knuckles, it was maybe 11,000 average for people online. Or 9,000, something like that. So an incredible spike. And what happened is that there was an entire year and a half worth of culture that existed in virtual reality that had been progressively growing, right? A culture built on top of itself. And then it's like if you were like in a country, and you're part of a nation of 100 people, and then 1 million people moved to your island and integrated into your community immediately. Like, your culture would be absolutely obliterated. Every single one of them comes from a completely different culture. It's 1 million people, perfectly spaced, like equally around the whole globe. So it just wipes out your culture, makes you completely international instantly. That's what happened to the original culture from VR. It was progressing, but it wasn't progressing in a way that was psychologically healthy for those who were involved. It was a place, anyone who was part of VR chat back then can tell you that it was a place of incredible transphobia, because over 80% of people who found VR chat found it through 4chan. I found it when I was browsing, 4chan's VG board, Video Game Generals. I was looking for the Space Station 13. I was going to say subreddit, but it's board. The Space Station 13 like post, and I was looking through, and they had the VRC general, and its main picture was of like a cute wolf girl going like this, and I clicked on the, like, as I was passing through, it was really cute, so I clicked on it, and it showed them moving around and looking at the world, and I was fucking blown away. And so that's how I got into VR. Initially was from that video that I found on 4chan, or a GIF rather, that I found on 4chan, and then when I came in here, it was just so many people were transphobic. Really? Every trans person who was every trans person who was originally in the community got driven out, because they would just become the focus of 4chan. Like, they would have like their like 100 people plus post in there about this person, like talking about them, like X trans person citing at this world, like if you want to go harass them and that kind of thing. There was open harassment campaigns tracking people, and no. And get this, you would go into a room if you were trans, and 30% to 50% of the room was transphobic. And if you're trans, if 30% of the room is transphobic, that makes 100% of the room effectively transphobic, because it's completely unsafe for you to be there. And that was the culture of VR chat, was this horrible, ultra bigoted community that was like, that no offense to developers, they did not have anything to do with the like community being that way. It was 100%. Yeah. It was literally because 4chan had a thread where people would go on and just like say gamer words at each other and fucking like just destroy each other's reputations and build up just vitriol and hate, and take the morality that's from here, the in-person sense of self and sense of identity, bring it over onto a board with no sense of morality at all, where you have full anonymity, and then just being able to engage in attacks against people from like an anonymous. That's why when people started integrating Discord into the community, I was really hesitant on Discords being like startup Discord groups, because I had seen what happened with 4chan. I was afraid it was going to lead to that sort of assault on people.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that, technically speaking, like in a way, before VRChat blew up because of the Knuckles and all the streamers and YouTubers, it was a very simple-minded group of individuals that basically, if you were different and you weren't, straight or whatever, or they would pretty much hate on you. They'd be like, "Oh, look at this one person. He's different than everybody else. Fuck him."
Yeah, they were totally chill with people who were gay or bisexual. It was just trans people that they fucking hated.
What the fuck?
Oh yeah, because even back then, gay and bisexual people still made up a 50% to a majority of the population here. The old axiom of VR chat turns you gay was still alive and well back in the initial days of VR chat.
Do you believe in that?
Knuckles revolution.
People always say that. They always like VR chat makes you gay. I don't know if that's true or not. I think as a straight man myself, I don't think I'm suddenly going to start sucking sausage, but it is what it is, right?
So I do think it's true. And actually, that's what I was working on.
The 5 stages that Rob talks about.
Yes, I would actually. I would actually have this all down. Like right now, this study would be most likely being conducted or having already been completed, because I was just basically filing with my university to see if they would be willing to allow me to conduct the study I want to conduct, because there's a pretty good chance that I was going to get denied, to be fair. However, that wouldn't have stopped me, because I have the equipment required, the EEG and everything required in order to perform the study. So nothing can stop me. However, I really want approval from my university for this, because what I'm looking to study is how a straight male. So we put you into VR for the first time.
Yeah, what's
You're
up?
in a room. Yeah, so you're in a room, and I'm in another room.
Yeah.
And I'm in my full body tracking, everything, no name tags on, no Walter H or whatever, and no Walter H involved, because I have a very effeminate voice, and like I'm very effeminate in many ways. So not wise to select me for this specific study for either role. But just as an example, so I come in and I'm in full body tracking everything. You're sitting there. It's like your first time in VR. I let you look at yourself in a mirror a little bit and establish like your connection to like your sense of identity. And you're wearing like a male avatar. I come in with like a really gorgeous female avatar, and I start like dancing around you and like I'm, like moving around you kind of in a circle, and I've got an EEG hooked up to you, and then I see brain activity relating to a spike in sexual interest. So you see it spike, right?
Oh yeah.
And then what happens is then the voice reveal comes, and it turns out it's a super buff like Chad dude, and then it plummets. But here's the question: does it drop all the way down to that baseline level, or does it remain slightly elevated? And if it's slightly elevated, does it slowly increase over time? Or I know
God.
I'm certain that this is also a facet. Okay, so when you are sitting here and you are looking at an incredibly attractive avatar, even if it's a super Chad buff guy voice coming from it, right? You are still going to occasionally look at it. Yeah, you're still going to occasionally look at that and be like, damn, those hips, nice ass, those tits, holy shit. Your brain is a stupid animal and is going to engage in its fixed action pattern of, oh, that's a fertile female, reproductive option.
Yes.
However, it is being fed false visual information that just seems so real. But it's being fed a false stimuli, and I think that it effectively trains you over time to have more and more of these little spikes. So when you have that moment of nice hits, what it's going to do is it's going to spike a little bit. But what I'm guessing is that much like how I think it's going to continue to elevate up and up like this, I think those spikes probably don't go all the way back down. So if a spike happens, it doesn't go back down to where like my finger level is, it goes right above it and ends right here. And then the next spike, also ends a little bit higher too. A little bit higher, that kind of thing. Not in such a drastic progression, but if I can see enough of a percentage progression, then I can see the effects. But I don't want to engage in. I don't want to conduct a study that's so long that it actually causes people to become bisexual, because I think that is very unethical. Even though bisexuality is just like a straight upgrade with no downside at all, unless you get persecuted by like those around you for it. But it is definitely not. So I would definitely not go to my university and be like, but by the way, even if I do conduct this for 6 months and people become bisexual and have their sexuality change, it's a straight upgrade to be bisexual.
Yeah, tell that to your head professor.
That's not gonna apply with my uni, period. So getting them to accept this will mean that my data will have to be collected within 1 or 2 sessions with each person. And
you can't do it over the same person over 6 months. I see what you're saying.
Right. I can't, because that might actually cause something to. There are types of therapy where you can just force a thing into a person, right? Force a person to like. I can't remember what it's called because it's like a really negative therapy, and I only deal with like the positive sorts. But there's a way to push someone into adapting to a new behavior and become one of their mainstays. So
what you're saying is
looking to test that principle.
The more you play VR chat,
yes,
the more potential that you're going to change and adapt over time. That you may start looking at your homie, the 5 stages, you might be start looking at your friend, they start using a female avatar. You're like, that's okay. They don't talk. They're mute. And then you start looking at them. You start cuddling. You start watching movies with them. And then you conduct the coitus. And then you're like, that's okay. And then they turn on their mic and they did it by mistake. And you're like, that's okay. You're a guy and I'm a guy too. And then you marry them in VR, and then you meet them up at a convention, and then you smash. You play by playing Smash Brothers. My God.
Exactly. Right. Yes. Correct. Yes, Queen. I've seen that play out many, many times. The transition from a VR setting, and testing out bisexuality or homosexuality for the first time, and just as a great reference point. And so I encourage, constantly, I basically just sit in front of a mirror and encourage people to better themselves and to join into VR and get involved. One of my viewers, they met a young man in the black hat that came in here, and after a couple of days being in here, they met a young man in the black hat, and they hit it off super well.
Yeah.
Like super well, and they spent like a day together, and then they both admitted that they had feelings for each other. One of them was straight when he came into VR chat, but had realized he was bisexual from his interactions in here, and they realized they lived an hour away from each other, and they were like, oh, well, let's meet up. And that was like 2 weeks ago, and now they've been living with each other for like a week, like and a half or something like that.
Holy shit.
So
you're saying
so they
is
met in the black hat, and then just instantly
VR is the ultimate hookup game.
Oh, by far, it is the best dating scene right now in the world.
Dating simulator.
Outside of something like New Zealand, where there's no coronavirus, face-to-face dating is like something where you like kill your whole family.
Whoa.
And like create like a map, like spread the virus to like 400 other people.
Yeah.
You know, you face-to-face date with one person, you catch coronavirus, and you spread to a bunch of other people, and now you've been you are part of the statistics of why people are dying. And the number of people who feel comfortable dating right now is a lot less than before, and all of the fun dating scenes like clubs and bars are all eliminated. So things are very like pushed to an online setting, and this is by far the best online dating scene because you get to see a person's real body language. People in here usually have the financial flexibility to meet up at least one time.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, yes, you come in here, and when you're interacting with someone, you might have interacted with me when I've been in like 6 different avatars, or let's say we're dating, and part of dating is going around and trying on fun avatars and dumb meme shit, and you've seen them be 400 avatars. Now you meet them in real life, and it's the 401st avatar switch, right? Now it's just their scuffed real life avatar. Right?
Scuffed.
And so,
switch back to the thick anime girl, quick, please.
Yes, and so it's your brain is like, oh, I already know this person. I've interacted with them a million times. That's my friend. That's my girlfriend. That's my boyfriend.
My God.
And you see people being able to transition love in here, love in a real life setting. I've gotten to meet up with multiple of my partners. Just last year, I met up with my girlfriend, now ex-girlfriend, but who lives in Mexico, and she came from Mexico to Manhattan, and I went from Seattle to Manhattan so that we could meet up with another VR chat group that I was hosting a meetup for. We were there for a month, and so we stayed there for a month. It was extremely fun. Went dancing the streets like every single day, nonstop. I was just absolutely fucking addicted to it. I went on the first day, like, because I'm hypomanic. I don't sleep. That's one of the things about being hypomanic, that you're awake for 30 hours, then you sleep. Like, ironically, I know, as I overslept my interview.
Yeah.
But, yes, I know. But you only sleep for about 3 to 4 hours, and then you're awake for 30. So at these meetups, it's kind of like, what the fuck am I supposed to do at night? Am I just gonna sit around and play on my girlfriend's Nintendo Switch or whatever? Or be like weird and sit in bed for 10 hours, like
just stare at them,
not sleeping.
Wake up already.
Yes, exactly. And so I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go clubbing. And so I go out into the city, and I go into a club, and it's like within like 15-20 minutes, I'm like, wait. I look around, and I'm like, this is just like black walls, effectively, with like lights flashing and all kinds of stuff. I'm like, outside is the most beautiful city like on the entire fucking eastern seaboard and possibly in all of the United States. And I'm in here when I could be out there dancing. And I just went out and I just danced the streets. And every night I would go and dance the streets. And I would pick a location that I wanted to go to. Like I would see a building off in the distance. I'm like, I'm going to go dance all the way there. And I would do food tours where I would buy $5 worth of food like every like hour and a half and go out and like get a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
That's
yes, and it was really, really fun. Did things like going into Central Park in the middle of the night, blasted out of my mind on marijuana because I had a little like vaporizer pen, and I went into Central Park at like 2 a.m. I read the sign. It said there was like a $50 fine or whatever. And then I saw other signs saying there's like a $70 fine if you get caught with marijuana. And I'm like, okay, $120. That just makes this like a fun endeavor, right? Like I've got that on me right now. Like, right, exactly. Yeah, I'm like, that just is going to make this really fun. Like, especially if there's like police patrols in there and all kinds of stuff. Because the police patrols won't be like stealth fucking ninjas, like dressed in black, like waiting to fucking jump out of a bush to like, gotcha, bitch. Like, you're under arrest.
Shit.
They're gonna be patrolling around with lights and all kinds of shit. So I'm running around like actual, like I'm like
Naruto.
28 years old and I'm running around like fucking Naruto. Yeah, like a goddamn ninja, and like ducking into like bushes and all kinds of shit. It was so fun. VR chat meetups and getting to meet up with like your partner and everything, really great. We had like an amazing time together. It's just unfortunate that she is hypersomniac, meaning that she has to sleep like 15, 16, 17 hours a day.
Holy shit, the opposite.
Right, exactly. So in real life, it was way more apparent, like the gulf between us in energy level. Whereas in an online setting, like I would be awake, and then she would wake up, and then she would spend effectively her whole day with me, because her whole day only encompassed like a third of my day, and so every day I would get to spend like the entire day with her, whereas it was like with this, you know, she was trying to keep up with me and it was running her ragged because imagine trying to keep up with someone whose energy levels are like, they are a person who is used to legitimately standing up for a minimum of 15 to 20 hours a day, because I don't have like this chair was pushed all the way into a corner because I don't use it. I just stand at all times. So and I like bounce around on my feet at all times too. So and I move faster than everyone else does too. In these meetups. I'm my average pace of movement is just insane, and so it's just it sucks, but I
wanted to take some questions from the chat, by the way, because we've been going for just over an hour. So I want to take some questions from the chat, and then we'll wrap it up. Obviously, you've been talking a lot, you know, but it is what it is. I expected this.
Yeah, of course. I know.
So
I'm sorry about that, honey. Yeah.
I would say I'm not technically the complete opposite of you, but I would say I'm very mellow, and I'm just like, what's up, dude? And then you're just like super high energy. So.
Yes.
I'm just chilling. I'm listening.
I'm super down for, like, I don't require someone to be like me. I mean, obviously I dated someone who was a hypersomniac, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm pansexual in friendship and in romance.
Oh my, let's go.
Yeah, it's being a positive influence on others that matters to me most of all.
Time for one question. Yeah, you're right. Are your wings fixed? That's a yes or no question. Is your wings fixed?
No, they're not.
Okay, next question.
I'm so sorry.
All right, so we got two questions. So at the very beginning, you talked about how you weren't always hypermanic. You said it was because of an accident. Are you willing to go more in depth as to what happened?
Oh my God! Yeah, so I did get brain damage. I will go more in depth about that.
So at one point you were chill like me. You're like, "What's up? My name's Walter," and then one day you're just like, "What's up, guy?"
Yes. That is how it went. But but unfortunately, that day was only literally a day. Because I was involved in the 32-hour labor, and sometime during that, perhaps it passed the 24-hour mark. So maybe I had a day of like the non-hypomanic.
Yeah.
But sometime during that, I must have had a lesion form on my right frontal lobe from like a lack of oxygen. So I was lying, and basically I've been in a permanent state of elation ever since. So this happened effectively at birth.
Oh, and, at birth, damn.
Yes.
If I was like 10 years ago, I was like, yeah, 10 years ago I was pretty normal. Then one day it just fucking, you know.
Not at all.
Okay, at birth. Okay, yeah,
yes.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Right, and symptoms manifested like around like 7 months-ish.
Okay.
My sleep pattern drastically shifted. Yes, from something that was normal baby sleep hours to like 20 hours awake and like 6 to 7 asleep.
Yeah, baby Walter, was that you as a baby? Just like,
Yes, that was me as a baby. There's like a demented Christmas ornament that my parents have that's like a recording of my laugh from when I was a baby, and like it was like, "Hi, I'm Walter," and like I was like, and it is terrifying because it just got warped over time and into like a nightmare sound. So now it's like if I click that, it makes me like shudder. Like even just like thinking about it, I feel like gross because it sounds so scary. Yes, back then I was like my parents' favorite toy too, because they would bring me around in a stroller and I was hypomanic, so I wanted to introduce myself to everything. So like a person would come by and I'd be like, "I am Walter." And I'd want to talk to
Is being hypomanic kind of like ADHD, or is it a separate thing?
It is very much a separate thing. I have extreme levels of focus and drive, and I can focus on things that don't interest me just as hard as I can focus on things that do interest me. So it is just a much more extreme version of focus. And in some senses, it is like ADHD, where you have like elevated energy. I've seen a few people who are like ADD who are of a similar energy to me, but mania is mostly defined by an elevated mood state at all times. So I'm always euphoric. That's a big difference between myself and someone who's ADD. Someone who's ADD will still effectively have the same a very similar neurochemistry to someone who doesn't have ADD, whereas my neurochemistry is very different because my brain is damaged enough to where it's not processing serotonin like other people's brains are, and a few other choice chemicals.
Makes sense to me. I guess it'd be like so when you mean like you're constantly in focus, does that mean like you would forget to like eat sometimes? You would just like focus on like homework or like a research or something, and then like totally forget. Oh yeah, I didn't eat in the last 20 hours. What the hell?
Oh my God! You have no idea how much VR made that worse, because VR actually has a natural nerve suppressing quality to it. So, and this is not something studied by me, but this is something studied by, I believe, Harvard, Oxford, University of Washington, and MIT. All did independent studies on, on nerve dissociation here in VR. This dissociates from your nerve ends in a huge way. It dissociates you from your stomach. But I already was having issues of like not eating enough. I lost like 30 plus pounds by accident here in VR, just like not eating and like starving myself out.
Holy shit!
And until it got to the point where I was like so debilitated from having not eaten. That I had to have like a rehabilibuddy. I had my friend Blizzard at the time, like act as my rehabilibuddy, and he would log in and then tell me to go eat. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Now my chat does that because I also don't eat. Like I'll stream for 14 hours and I'll have forgotten to eat the entire time.
Jeez. For me, I only stream like 2 hours. I know. Awesome. 2-hour Andy. But I always do everything first. Like I'll like eat, I shower, I get ready for bed. Like I do everything, and then I stream for like 3 hours, and then that's my day. So like I do everything, because if I don't, then I might like skip a meal, and I don't want to do that because I know it's important. So I know logically I must do everything first, whatever the chores are, clean the house, whatever, and then it's free time, play games for 3 or 4 hours. Then I just go to bed. You know. So my schedule is pretty simple. Yes.
Yeah, for me, I'm trying to like constantly just have protein shakes, like one after another, effectively every like 4 hours. So, because if I don't, then I just start feeling fucking exhausted because my body is just constantly hungry for fuel.
Do you ever have any questions for me? I know you asked that one question before about like the hate and like stuff like that, but do you have any other questions for me?
Yes.
Are you analyzing me? Are you gonna write a report about me?
I don't engage in psychoanalytics in that way. I know that a lot of people are freaked out when they find out that you're like a psychologist, and not only are you a psychologist, but you're a psychologist that's specifically conducting research right now in the environment that the person is standing in. Like they feel sometimes, they're like sometimes like are you analyzing me? I am not psychoanalyzing people. No, yes, Queen. Let me ask you, who is the most interesting person you've ever interviewed?
The most interesting person besides yourself?
Yeah.
I mean, it's true. I mean, literally, we're getting a lot of insight to, I think, because a lot of people have told me for a long time they always wanted you to come on my show for probably like 6 months, because they're like, dude, this guy's really interesting. But anyway, to get to your question, who else would be very interesting? One person I always thought was interesting to interview would be Nags21 or Joey Bagels. He's one of the first content creators of VR Chat, and he's been around for longer than I have, like 3.5 years. And basically, he saw everything, and creatively, he effectively, was the first person to do it on YouTube to record VR Chat, and was, I would say, one of the founding fathers of content creation for this game. So he has a lot of stories, a lot of insight, he saw like the rise and fall, he saw everything. So I would say he has a lot of insight.
That's sick. Yeah, that's sick. Like a proper full on VR Chat historian. You know what's so I have met I have met Nags in VR Chat like two times, but I've interacted with him over stream like half a dozen times. But I only met him during like this Golden Gato arc where they had like a competing bar across from the bar, just like 2 months back or a month and a half back. It was the first time that I ever met them, but every other person like told me about them and was like, and so I got to find out like a lot of this lore that you're talking about.
I plan to interview him again. He'll be coming on eventually. He's just really busy, but I'll have him on my talk show again. He already agreed to it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hell yeah! So I was going to ask you. You had reached out. I figured you would probably.
I do my homework. I reach out to individuals and.
Yes, Queen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good work. Yes, hey. Yes, I found that here in VR Chat, the most satisfying thing for me has been like these one-on-one discussions.
Yeah.
Like this, but ones where it's about like opening up and getting the other person to open up about their problems and trying to talk them through something. And,
Dr. Phil.
Yes, learning empathetic skills as you kind of advance yourself. So by helping others, you grow as a person, and then the next time you're helping someone, the next time you get better, and better until eventually you go into a setting and you feel like you know all the right words to say, and you know how to speak like this perfect self-help poetry. And these are skills that I only developed once I came in here. I really wasn't a person who was like dedicated to like empathy or having like a higher sort of calling of doing good for others. I was very just focused on myself. I was someone who was depressed and suffered from suicidal ideation. I had to have tumors removed from my nerve sheath when I was 22, and it left me with a spreading form of chronic pain that was highly psychologically debilitating for a really long time. And it changed the way I looked at the future and made it so things like a movie coming out in a year would no longer be pleasurable, like, because I would think about it like, oh, in a year, how much pain am I going to be in? How bad is it like going to be? And like, will it be a bad day for pain? Yeah, exactly. These sorts of things just made it so any hopes I had for the future were being destroyed. But coming into here, I changed all of that in a big way. I came into here and I started making friends for the first time in many years, because I had engaged in self-isolation for about half a decade. And I came into here, I started making friends. I quickly became really attached to those friends, started finding a sense of purpose as I started researching and finding that while my sense of control had been taken away from chronic pain, I regained that sense of control through research and through helping others in this environment, and actually recovered to a point where I was able to start being a role model for others and working towards that and giving myself something to strive for, and being able to have successes in talking people with suicidal ideation, using things like my dealings with depression, suicidal ideation, and chronic pain to understand the issues of others and to open up to them, and then to get them to open up to me in turn. That's I think the biggest lesson that I learned in VR chat was to open up to others, to get them to open up to me, rather than getting to know others and then opening up to them. I'm always very, very forward with information about myself. Yes.
It kind of sounds like the other streamer on Twitch, Dr. K. You know?
That is what I've heard many, many times. However, I've never watched Dr. K, but my chat will talk about him every single stream that I have. So, yes, I am pretty sure we do a very similar thing. I know that the concept that I talked about of like how I'm able to just like AoE a bunch of people with help is something that he specifically states.
Yes, AoE, area effect. You're just
yes.
You know.
I've intended to watch like some of his content, so at least I have like a concept of what he looks like physically and stuff, you know, so I can like attach something to this name. I've just never even gotten around to seeing a picture of this person. So it's been something where I would probably benefit from watching and learning more from those who are engaged in this same kind of like doing like help sessions with people, trying to be like a role model for others, trying to get people to change in a positive way. It would be probably a good thing to look at other people who are doing that, so I could see if they have like pieces of life advice and other useful information that I could then transfer on to others, because the best part of helping people one-on-one is how you learn from them and then transfer that to the next person and then the next one and the next one.
I got a question for you.
Is when you speak self-help poetry.
Somewhat kind of unrelated, but to me, when I look in your eyes, you look like two different anime girls. Am I tripping?
Two different anime girls.
Yeah, one's blue and one's red, and I swear to God, I swear I'm not crazy. It looks like there's like 2 people inside of his eyes. You can't see unless he goes super close. Go up really close to the camera and like put your face. I'm not tripping. I'm not tripping. Oh, you gotta like.
Right, let's see.
You gotta move back a bit.
Okay,
Lower.
Okay.
Lower.
Am
I? I'm not tripping. What? Okay, channel never believe me. They won't believe me. They won't believe me. I'm not sure. I swear to God. Okay. Anyway, continue the interview. I was so focused on his eyes. I was so focused on your eyeballs. I was just like, I swear to God. Like I was just like, it looks like there's like.
Don't worry.
No, I swear. Oh wait, if I get really close, it doesn't look like people. But if this far away, it looks like 2 anime girls. Like one has like blue hair, one has red hair, and they have like eyes. But if I get really close, it's clearly a heart. My God.
Oh my God.
I am truly losing it.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. Yes, Queen. It's fine. It happens in here. All my avatars have very, very trippy eyes for the most part.
Yeah. It's probably because I wear glasses in real life. I'm not wearing the like specific lenses, so it looks blurred. So to me, like far away, like it does look like two anime girls. But if I get really close, then it just looks like a heart. Damn.
Right. Yes. Wearing glasses in here is a nightmare. Definitely would not recommend.
Yeah. So why do I see anime girls in your eyes? Let's be real here. Why do I just secretly want to have an anime girl? Yeah. Why do I see anime girls?
I think it's because like 99% of people here are anime girls, probably.
Oh.
So you have anime girls on your mind all the time.
Yeah, yes. I mean, I'm always looking for waifus, man. You're right. I'm trying to get 1,000 waifus, you know.
Yes, Queen. Yes, on the gacha games.
Yeah. VR Chat is secretly a gacha game. Did you know that?
Yes, just collecting all the waifus. There's like unlimited out there.
Exactly.
Just have to go into void clubs and find them.
Oh, void club? What the heck? No, I go to the more classy places like the Black Cat or the Great Pug or the Volt Club. I don't know.
Yes. Volt Club is really nice. Oh my God, I love the little like hand pad thing. Yes, that's super cute. Hey, I will say in the defense of Void Club, I met a woman there, Vanessa. Although also I met 3 of my girlfriends there, but
damn, dude, you get around. Holy shit.
Yeah, I met a woman there named Vanessa. Ironically, in the same conversation, I actually met a woman too who would become my girlfriend down the line.
Damn, Walter, you're a player.
But you can imagine that if I'm not talking about how I met this girl in the Void Club primarily, I'm talking about this other person. They probably did something more impressive than just be my girlfriend, which they definitely did. We met up in real life 4 different times, and on the 3rd time that we met up in real life, I started. We didn't take any drugs or like drink alcohol or eat anything weird. My body just decided that it was going to start puking, and I would puke and hiccup and burp and puke and hiccup and burp, and I was like just like dying and rolling and screaming in agony. And she was it
was probably cooties.
Like know what to do.
Cooties are contagious.
Yeah, exactly, correct.
Yeah.
Yes, Queen. I had I started I lost like all my ability to move, and I was just like rolling around the ground, like fucking like screaming. It was literally awful. And she managed to get me back from where we had been to her car, and then we drove all the way to the emergency room, and she lied to them and told them that she was my sister so that she could be in there for like the next 10 hours as I just like lay there like screaming in agony and like burping and hiccuping and vomiting, and even when nothing was coming out. She literally saved my life and she was someone who I met in the Void Club. Yes,
Damn.
literally saved my life though, because we were like in a position where if it had just been me solo, then I wouldn't have been able to get help.
Did you ever find out what caused it? Like, what happened?
No, literally they said it was like cyclical vomiting syndrome, so random vomiting for no reason.
What the hell? I would just say it's cooties, honestly. If I was a doctor, I'd just be like, yeah, you got cooties from this woman here. You've just been spending too much time.
Yes.
The Void Club, yeah. Getting crabs.
You've met up with her 3 times, so
yeah,
now
too much.
Now you've
got
got infected, yes.
Yeah.
Does, yeah. It definitely wouldn't underplay how good you can meet good people anywhere, you know.
True.
You can find good people at the Void Club.
Too much Void Club for you is the Void Club syndrome.
Yeah.
Too much.
Yes.
Time to go to the Black Cat.
Void Club.
Yeah.
Yes. I do go to the Black Cat. Yes.
Okay.
It is a much healthier environment, I will say. I recommend people
true.
go to the Black Cat over the Void Club. Yeah. The Black Cat is also not a place where like everyone knows the Void Club. You go there if you're like somebody who's just like a crasher or whatever, an asshole who wants to sit in front of a mirror. If you want to be an asshole, you go to the Void Club. But if you want to just like socialize, there's probably maybe in a room of 18 people, like 5 of them are crashers in the Black Cat, and they're all sitting in front of the mirrors. So the crashers just like sit around the mirrors, or walk through systematically trying to execute everyone.
Yeah, true. So we'll have to wrap up this interview. We've been going for an hour and a half.
Fair.
But
Fair.
any final words you want to say? Hey, I'm Walter. Anything? Any upcoming events? Anything you want to say?
If anyone's interested, I'm hosting DDVR later tonight. Yes, at 8 p.m. PST. But on a more important note, I would recommend that everyone come in here and try VR chat, even if it's just in desktop mode. I came in here as someone who was suicidally depressed, who hadn't made friends in half a decade, who had isolated themselves to try to mitigate their social impact so that they could kill themselves in an ethical way, where it didn't impact a lot of people. I came in here and I found intense drive, intense purpose, a sense of community, sense of identity, the ability to gain real respect for myself and what I'm doing, and have it be something meaningful enough that I can't just at a whim just think, oh, what I'm doing is pointless and not worth it. I found empathetic skills in here. I found thousands of friends. I went from being someone who hadn't made a friend in half a decade, who now has effectively the largest friends list of anyone in VR chat. And I had given up on life. I'd given up on hoping for a better future. VR changed all of that for me. VR chat has allowed me to fall in love multiple times, meet up with well over 100 friends in real life settings, go and explore the world together with friends. Just after this coronavirus, I'll be going to Japan with a bunch of people from VR chat. It is something that every person should give a try to. If you are someone who has social anxiety, if you're someone who doesn't have a place in the world, who feels like they don't have a purpose, their life doesn't have meaning, if you are someone who's in chronic pain, someone with gender dysphoria, I cannot recommend VR chat more strongly. You can get a headset for as little as $150 on Craigslist if you go for an Oculus Consumer version 1. And if you look up how to use QR codes as leg trackers. You can have full body tracking, just like I have right here. And all of it is $7 for leg tracking that does not require batteries and is full 360-degree tracking. It just requires a PlayStation 3 camera, but you can look that up yourself, yes. So I'd recommend getting something cheap off of Craigslist, getting in here, start making a difference for yourself and for others. Learn what type of person you are. When I came in here, I was just a World of Warcraft and like League of Legends, like depressed, suicidal person. I played those games. That was my identity, effectively. You know, I isolated. Other than that, I worked a job, but that wasn't part of my sense of self. I was just a person who ganked people in World of Warcraft and played jungle in League of Legends. So effectively ganked people in that game too. That's all I did, and that's all I was contributing to the world. And now I have helped hundreds and hundreds of people directly. I've cried with people. I've fallen in love. I've gotten to have amazing adventures. And all of it was because of this platform. None of this is available for someone who plays, you know, League of Legends or World of Warcraft. These things will most likely not happen for you. But in here, this is the human experience. So every piece of the human experience will be reflected within this environment. And you see it play out in a gorgeous way where people use their real life empathy skills in here. Grow on an empathetic level. You see others growing in that way. And you watch as a person who you helped 3 years ago come to you 1 day ago, like this person did for me. And they came to me and they were happy, and I asked them how they were doing, and everything was going great. And it's been going great for the last 3 years, and they directly credit you for changing their mind, for changing their life, for having these things shift in this fundamental way. And for me, the same thing happened. I came in here and I was someone who was broken, and I met a woman named Kokoshin, and she was able to change my mind on everything. And we talked for 30 minutes, an hour one time in a one-on-one session, and she found all the right words to say to talk me out of my ideation, to make me pursue something with meaning, to see my life as meaningful. And I credit this environment hugely for being alive and for being someone who has been able to make the impact that I have. Other people made that impact on me, and I've in turn been able to make that impact on others. So I want to say that everyone should give VR chat a try. It is an incredible platform. It makes you into an incredible person.
I agree 100%, you know? 100%. That was well said. That was like the best conclusion speech I ever heard in all my interviews. I'll have to say you take the crown on that. I'd like to say thank you again to Walter for coming by. I really do appreciate it. You're more than welcome to come by for another interview at a later time.
Thank you, and sorry for missing that previous interview. I seriously, I was so embarrassed, and I still am over it.
Hey, it's all right, man. It's all right, man, because what's important is you're here now, and this was a great interview, I have to say. If you haven't already, hit that follow button. It's up above, down below, wherever the hell it is. If you got a Twitch Prime, usually you get some nice emotes. If you haven't already, check out Walter. It's WalterHugs, right, on Twitch?
Yes,
WalterHugs with an S. So hit him up, follow him. He's going to be hosting DDVR later tonight, which is a dancing event. I've been there a couple times in the last couple of years. It's a pretty good event. They have usually a live DJ, and people are getting drunk and crunk and all sort of craziness.
Yes, Queen.
So thank you so much. I don't have any like interviews planned for tomorrow and stuff like that, but I do have an event this Saturday. Avatar Showcase, so if people want to hook me up or hit me up on DMs on Discord, check out my Discord, ! Discord, check out my Twitter, follow me on Twitter, check out my YouTube where I upload all my VODs and interviews, so this will be included as well. But that's pretty much it for me. Thank you so much to Walter again. Give a round of applause. Spam some hearts in the chat for everybody here, for Walter and everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, of course. We'll raid somebody. Do you have any recommendations who I should raid from the VR chat community? If not, I can always just pick someone, and then we'll also take a photo as well.
Yes. I'm not sure who's on right now. You know. Yes.
Oh, I can take a look.
Rate somebody smaller who's rocking out like 70, 50 numbers. Yes. So that somebody else can get partnered. I'm hoping to eventually get partnered. I don't know how much the essay contributes, but holy shit, if the essay contributes to your odds of getting partner, then I know I will, because I wrote like a fucking like page long essay about why I think I would